Hi, Larry, WD0AKX, and today we're going to take a little look at an EF Johnson Messenger 223 Classic CB radio tube type. A local ham radio friend of mine, NX0P, recently purchased it and dropped it off here for me to kind of check it over and see how things are working. So I always kind of have a special place in my heart, I guess, for EF Johnson equipment because I used to work there in Waseca, Minnesota at the factory, and there's my ID tag to prove it, I guess. So let's take a look at that radio, and here it is. On the right, you'll see a Johnson Messenger 1, or a whiteface Johnny, out of my collection, and that has a lot of similarities with the EF Johnson 223 on the left. After the Johnny 1 on the right came the Johnson Messenger 2, or the blackface, and that was pretty much the same radio but with some improvements, improved selectivity. Now you'll see the two chassis here with my Johnny 1 and the 223 are very similar. Now Johnson needed a quick way to get a 23 channel radio to the market, so they used the same chassis, come up with this front panel, and to add on the side of the chassis. And this is the crystal housing in the older radio, and they come up with a channel synthesizer board, and they added crystals to make this into a 23 channel radio. So this saved them a lot of design time and a good way to bring something to the market quickly with 23 channels. It was called the 223 because it was a Messenger 2 with 23 channels. So let's take a look inside. A lot of grime and dust, which is understandable due to the holes in the housing, the way it's designed. Might have to give that transformer a little shot of black paint. The underside looks very clean though. Looks very good here. You can tell this has been settled on here for several years. A lot of grime. Well, before I do that, I'm going to power it up very slowly. This is my B&K isolation transformer, and I can adjust the AC voltage from 0 to 120 volts. So what I want to do here, since the capacitors in this radio are probably very weak after this being aged like they are, I'm going to bring the voltage up very slowly. We'll make sure there's no direct shorts. I'll start it out at about maybe 20 volts AC or so, 20 or 30, and we'll turn the radio switch to on. So by doing this, I'm going to try to reform the capacitors on the radio without giving them a big surge all at once. So we'll just slowly bring up the voltage here and let it sit for a half hour or an hour at a time here at each setting. Just slowly bring it up over a few hours time. Everybody has different ideas on how much time you should do it. Some say you can do it quite quickly, and some like to do it over a period of a couple of days. I'm just going to bring it up 20 or 30 volts at a time over a period of a few hours here. That's I've had pretty good luck doing it that way, I guess. And I always check the current draw here too. I can check the current, see if we got any direct shorts. This is looking pretty good though. It's coming up nicely. And when I'm doing this, I also like to kind of feel the capacitors, the electrolytic capacitors, see if they're building up any heat or anything like that. But with the current draw right now, I wouldn't expect that. And I can see my pilot lights on the radio are starting to light up here. So I reached the normal 120 volts here, and the current draw looks about normal, what I would expect. And the dial lamps are lit up. This radio does have to have the mic connector plugged in to be able to hear the sound, audio. And it appears I do have sound from the radio now. So I'm going to do a quick test here. Just hook up a little wire to my antenna connection, and I do pick up some static. The switch contacts on the channel selector are noisy. I'll have to clean those. So I'm going to hook a dummy load in here now. We'll try a transmit, and looking at my meter here on transmit, we do have power. So it looks like it is transmitting. When I talk into the microphone, I see my meter fluctuating a little bit, which is a good indication for transmit audio. Since things are looking good at this point, I decided to go ahead and do some more cleaning here, and I gave the transformer a shot of black paint. Looks a little bit better, huh? So we're going to go ahead and test the tubes in this radio and be sure they're all in good shape. This is a 12BW4, so I'll look that up on the chart here. Make sure we get our pins reset here on the tester. It says filament should be at 12 volts, and C should be set to position B, and D should be to position 1, and should use socket number 3. So we're going to put the tube in socket number 3 here. Alright, we're going to go ahead and turn this on to emission. And if the tube is good, we should come up into the green range on emission here, in the good range. Hey, how about that? Looking good there. And we'll check grid leakage, bottom scale. That's showing good, so we're okay there. And want to check for shorts by rotating for shorts here. And if we have any shorts, this light will stay on. Looks good there. Test also says to check D here in position 7. So we'll go to 7, check emission, looks good. Grid leakage looks good. Go back to emission, life test, looks good. So this tube checks good in the tester. We'll do the same thing with all the other tubes here. And when I remove each tube, that'll give me a little better chance to get in and clean a little better on the chassis there. So we'll do that at the same time. I was also wondering what these external wires coming out of the radio is for. It looked like an add-on by somebody, and it is what it is. It's just for external speakers. Somebody had tied these wires across the speaker, the internal speaker. So that's what these wires are here. Here you can see where this wire comes in, and somebody just tacked it across the internal speaker. Well, I went through and checked every tube on the tube tester. They all check very good. So that's good, good sign, I guess. It doesn't mean that a tube still couldn't be bad, but it's a pretty good indication that they're all in pretty good shape here. And I did a little bit more cleaning and scrubbing when I had each tube out. So it does look a lot better now. Now, capacitors like this, electrolytic types, should probably be replaced at some point. They're aging, like this one here, and this one up here, and possibly these here would be good candidates for replacement. But for now, I don't know how much money that NXRLP would want to spend on this for now, and as long as it's in good working condition for now, we'll probably leave it at that, and maybe at a later time go through a capacitor replacement. So I have it hooked up to an antenna now. This is evening, so the skip is kind of died out for the day. I'm not hearing much for signals, and nobody around to talk to try it that way right now, but tune around. I noticed one thing, the S meter needs some calibration, and I did find the control in the radio that does adjust the S meter, so I wanted to set that at 0 on the meter. You can see how that setting affects the meter here. So we get that set at 0, and it looks like I have a little more cleaning to do on the knobs here. They're still a little dirty looking. I have this handheld CB, that's all I have around here right now to do a little testing with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, test, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it looks like the 223 is hearing my handheld radio okay. So now I'll transmit on the 223 and listen on the handheld. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, test, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. On this poor quality sounding handheld radio receiving here with transmit power about what I would expect here from the 223. I also went through and cleaned up all the potentiometers, volume and squelch control, and the channel selector. That really helped a lot. Just keep in mind while working on any kind of tube circuits, electronic circuits like this, there is plenty of high voltages. So you want to be real careful. You have to know what you're doing if you're going to work on these types of tube radios. They do have several hundred volts in certain locations here. And here's a look at the nice desk microphone that came with the radio, or should I say microphonium. Well, I think I can go ahead and put the housing back on it. Everything seems to be operating normally here. I don't have any high test equipment for CB radios here, like a Senko CB tester or anything, so I can't get too detailed, but everything seems to be operating normally. So I think we'll go ahead and repackage it here. Here's a look at the rear panel with 4 screws to remove, and the antenna jack, tube location diagram, made in the USA. And if you notice here the serial number, there is different versions, A through H. This has an H in the code, which is the latest revision, so that's good here. Now, one thing that I kind of find unusual is that the on-off switch is with the squelch control here. So you turn it on, and then you can set your squelch. I guess when you first turn it on, that way you'll hear some noise, but the volume control is independent, so you could leave your volume control set at a preset level, I guess, and just turn it on and off and set your squelch. So these are a no-frills radio, just very basic, and E.F. Johnson was known for that. They'd make something that would work good and without all the confusion. Just do the basic things you needed to do, and they were kind of geared towards toward business type operations and that at the time. So that's people didn't want to mess around with a lot of controls to fiddle with. So this did the job, built like a tank. So there it is, all packaged up back in the housing and ready to go out the door, I guess, for now. 7-3, and thanks for watching. Today we're going to take a little look at an E.F. Johnson 223.